guys, and welcome back to another edition of The Love Connection with me, Taj B, your international matchmaker and relationship consultant. Happy Friday, guys, to each and every one of you. And to all those who are in the north, special happy Friday to you guys because the weather is supposed to be warm this weekend. So make sure you get all your Christmas shopping done if you can this weekend. And who is this handsome gentleman that I have here with me today? Well, as you guys know, I am here to talk about what is love. I'm not really going to do much talking. I actually have brought him here so that he can explain to us what love is and what love isn't. As you know, we are always talking about what love is not. Like, that's not love, that's fake love. And love doesn't look like that. But what is love? Like, what actually is this thing called love? So let him introduce himself. Who are you and what do you do? And what are you doing here?
Now I know what you do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm John Hosein. Over the years, I've done a number of jobs, but my proudest thing that I've ever done in my life is to help people understand their own life, their own perspective, their children, and their marriage.
Wonderful.
I've gone from with the mediocre jobs all the way to a director. And from that point on, I said, you know what? I need to do something that can fulfill my life.
Nice.
And I said helping people was the best thing I can do.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Because we're all about helping others here on the Love Connection. So John, special thank you for that, right?
I realized from a very young age, around 8 years old, that when I'm looking at people, friends, that I started maturing very, very fast.
Okay.
So I looked at parents very closely. I looked at neighbors. I looked at teachers very closely, aunts and uncles, and I realized that there's something missing because I don't feel it.
Ah, I understand.
Right?
Okay.
If I don't feel what they're saying, how could it be true? If I had a toy and I'm playing with a toy, I can feel that. I can feel the happiness. Now, when you feel the happiness, then in people, they need to feel the love with each other.
Oh, okay.
It's not for 5 minutes celebrate Christmas and then
Move on.
Yeah, move on. Who's taking down the tree? Why is it not down?
Yeah.
Right? The feeling has to be consistent. It's almost like saying if you have elements, say oxygen and nitrogen, they are pure in nature. It is not anything else but that.
Right.
Love is the same thing. Love is a pure element inside of you.
Okay.
It's a feeling that needs to grow, right? But if you don't know what it is, if it's not inside of you, how can you actually exercise love when it's not inside of you?
And at 8 years old, you were thinking about
8 years old, now this is a broad feeling,
Right.
but at 8 years old, I started the discovery that I was more of an observer.
Okay.
Because I looked at people the way they're walking, I realized they always said, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then I realized that, how is it love? And
They're
then,
saying it, but the action says otherwise, right?
and then I used to watch my parents, very young, watch these daytime, what you call it, soap operas.
Yeah.
And the people would always gather and say, I love you. And then next thing you know, they're divorced or they're talking about each other or situations occurring. And said, well, that's not love either. However, if I'm looking at that and every single day, I realize that I'm like a program. I start to record information as it comes in.
Right.
To realize that anything that goes in my eyes and my ears and I can feel, it is part of my program. If I didn't look at that information, it wouldn't be part of that program.
Ah, okay.
So I started looking at friends and I realized that my brothers, and I started realizing that we're in the same house, we eat the same food, we pretty much dressed alike,
Right.
we went to the same outings, and we went to sleep the same time, woke up the same time, saying, well, why are we so different?
Right.
Why are we so different? It's almost like you're trying to bake a cake and duplicate it and coming out exactly the same way. There's always
so true.
there's always going to be a slight measurement.
Yeah.
Then you start realizing that, well, we all came from our parents. So if I had to investigate, my investigation has to come starting from the parents.
Ah, okay.
Then when I started looking at pictures in scrapbooks, I started realizing that there's so many smiles. Everyone will say, snap me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then when you ask about these pictures, where it was taken and the time and front, didn't feel like love, but the picture looked loving.
Yeah. When you hear the background story
that's
behind
right,
the picture,
that's right.
it's like, this was not a happy moment.
How many people go on vacation and the parents say, "Get in the picture!
Oh, yeah.
Come on,
And
smile!"
you weren't even there. You hadn't even been hanging out with them on this so-called vacation. Like, yeah.
Love. So when you start looking at the actions of the parents, you start to realize something. If a child cannot see and feel love, how can they have love? So you go to McDonald's and what do you want? You want the Happy Meal.
Right.
The reason why you want the Happy Meal is you want the toy,
Yeah.
right? And the parents will buy that for 1 or 2 times and then realize, say, you know what, you don't even play with the toy. It's too expensive or you don't need it. But the toy is what makes me happy.
Right.
As a child, I don't pay a mortgage.
Yeah.
I don't have much responsibility. That is love. For a parent to remove that toy from my life is removing my love. So if you're removing love,
Interesting, right, guys?
if you're removing the love, then what else are you removing? If I want to eat something, if I want to drink pop, it's only because you introduced it to me.
That's how I know it exists in the first place.
But
like, what about when they go out into the world and get things that you didn't introduce to them?
Well, you still have the foundation. Your child is with you from birth till they go to school, say junior kindergarten,
and
senior
like
kindergarten,
8
right?
hours per day
That's
underneath
right.
the
That's right.
indoctrination
That's
of
right.
the school, because that's what's going on there. You guys tell yourself
right.
whatever you want, but
That's
it's
right.
the indoctrination we send our children to, okay?
Yep.
Like, then what do you do? Because that's 8 hours per day, every day. Like, you cannot deny this influence.
Everything that a parent does, the child can only copy.
Ah,
They can only reflect the environment they come from.
okay.
A simple example. When a child looks to be grabbing a toy, what do parents normally say?
No.
Don't grab.
Yeah.
But when a husband or wife grabs their keys, the child is observing
Then
what
grabbing.
the action is. So if grabbing is fine, then a child will exercise the reflection of
The
that.
grabbing as well.
But when they do it, what happens?
Trouble. One slap.
They get punished. They get punished,
like,
right?
don't you dare try that. Oh,
But at that moment, then the child discovers, I guess that was wrong. And
Now I know.
that's in the program.
yeah,
right?
now I know this is wrong,
That's
right?
right.
So then you go on to teach that to their
That's right.
generation.
But
Very strong point.
yeah, but you feel that that's wrong, but you still observe the parents doing wrong, right? You still observe it.
You know
right?
it's wrong, and you still see them doing the wrong,
Yeah.
whereas they're giving you a different thing when they're telling you this activity is wrong, but yet they continue
That's
to do
right.
it. Interesting.
So what tends to happen is that the child's emotions starts to get suppressed. Right?
Yes, which is not good, obviously.
Yeah.
Right?
And the more we suppress a child's emotions, the more love is not coming into the child.
True. And they're not learning how to express themselves
right.
thoroughly.
That's
so,
right.
as you know, the main topic, what is love? So, John, try to answer that question for us. What is love?
Well, first of all, love is something that has to be felt. But not only felt, you have to investigate in yourself
Yeah.
the feeling. Because love is not inside a person. You have to put it inside you.
You have to put it inside of
You personally have to put it inside. If you can put it in, if you start loving yourself, then you have something to compare to.
Okay.
If you don't have something inside yourself of love, the only thing that you are basing your judgment on is addictions.
Okay.
So when you're young, a guy sees a girl, he says to himself, "Oh, she's pretty, she's mine."
Yeah.
His addictions are met.
Okay.
Girl sees a guy, he's handsome, her addiction is met. The problem is, once their addictions are no longer met, it's hasta la vista.
That's it. So
Next.
Done.
Done.
Next. Done with that. Right.
But prior to that, they say, "I love you."
Right.
But it was
And
never
it's
love.
not really love. It's
That's
just
right.
meeting your addiction need at the moment.
That's right.
And you say we learn to love from our parents, correct?
That's where it needs to begin, but that's not where it actually begins.
Where does it begin?
Love begins when you start understanding you don't have love inside yourself. You have to personally put love in. It's like going to a grocery store
Right.
and you asked, you have a child with a cart, and you have a cart, and you tell your child, okay, let's both go shopping.
Yeah.
What would you feel and what would they feel?
Sweets, cookies,
That's right.
candy, all the lovely stuff, and then you're
Yeah.
getting the veggies and the meat to cook and whatever they need.
That's what the child supposedly likes and loves.
Right.
And this is what you love. You're trying to put your addictions onto the child because the child knows about this feeling based on what they've seen all their life. So if you're chewing gum always in a car and your child asks for gum, right? And then you get to a point where you're always asking for gum,
Yeah.
you know, but you're always chewing gum.
So why wouldn't I ask
That's
for
right.
it? Right.
The child learns to shut down their emotions. Eventually what happens is that when they get older, they will regurgitate
Yeah.
everything that the parents introduced to them.
Had introduced to them.
Hence the reason why you tell them to do certain things that you don't want them to do. It's really truly, it's not the error in the child, it's
Right.
the error in the parent. Right? I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
When my discovery started to increase more and more, one day my daughter was playing the piano, and she was saying, "Daddy, Daddy, look at me, look at me." And she's playing the piano, right? And I'm in a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
So I slightly turn and go, "Oh, that's great, right?"
Yeah.
And then I went back to the conversation. At that moment, I realized that there's nothing wrong,
Yeah.
right? Well, one day, I was calling my daughter, same daughter, and I said to her, "Kalia, could you come?
Yeah.
Could you come down and help me?"
Nice name, Kalia.
Right? And she said, "Yes, Dad," but she didn't come. So I had to call again and again.
Right.
She acknowledged me, but she wasn't coming. So I paused, and something came into me. When you want to know something and you truly invest in it,
Right.
information will come to you because you want it.
Right. Right.
I realized, I said, why is my daughter acknowledging me? That's when I realized my parents never acknowledged me.
Oh.
If my parents didn't acknowledge me, then they don't have acknowledgement inside of them to give me.
Wow.
So if
That's
they didn't,
really deep,
if
John.
they didn't give me this from birth, then I don't have it to give my kids
Okay.
because I wasn't born with acknowledgement because they ignored me most of my
Right.
life.
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
So when that moment came by, I started realizing that every time my daughter called me, I dropped what I was doing, whether it be
Okay.
on the phone, whether it be
Right.
on a laptop, or whether it be conversing with someone or with my wife. And I just turned my head and I gave her full attention.
100%. Right.
Within 2 weeks to a month, that problem was fixed.
Oh wow, that's really nice.
Now she had acknowledgement inside of her. Now she will have acknowledgement to give her children and,
Okay,
and her
right.
friends and her husband.
You're breaking the cycle here, John.
Yeah.
Oh wow, look at you.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
amazing. So you told us that we were not born with love.
You're not born with it.
No. And we cannot be born with love because our parents don't have this love to give us.
And they don't even know this.
And they don't even know this. So what do you say to the people who are watching right now? They're like, shut up your mouth, John. My mother and my dad love me, eh? Like, they make sure I
Yeah.
have food. They make sure I go to school clean. They make sure this, that, and that. What do you say to them? Because I am
that-
also
yeah.
one of these people. Mom, let me just let you know, I know you love me. And I don't agree with John here. So
Well,
what do you say to
this-
us
this
and
is-
the audience who says
this
that?
is a very broad topic, and I can actually take this point and make it into 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So let me just
Our
let me just
producer
go
will
from
give us the umbrella hook if we try that.
let me give you from a one point of view, and I'm only going to stick to that point of view.
Okay.
Let's say the female's point of view.
Okay.
Now, when a mother wakes up in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
she normally does things, starts making breakfast, putting the tea
Yeah.
and coffee. Most husbands don't even have the concept of thought in their head. They just wake up and start changing and
Eating,
doing whatever,
chilling,
right?
Doing whatever their own
That's right.
personal issues.
That's right. See, if love was inside the husband would have love to give his wife.
Ah,
Okay? How many husbands and fathers know that if their child needs socks or nylons?
true.
Hardly. See,
Yeah.
if there was love inside the husband, then he would have love to give his children.
Oh, wow.
If a man sits on the toilet 365 days a year, who cleans it?
Right.
His wife. But if he had love inside of him, love would be given to his wife.
And he would clean that toilet too.
That's right. It's not a matter of her job. It's a matter of it needs to be done, right?
We like get into these things where we sort of fall into routine, John.
That's right.
Where, you know, because I am the woman here, it is just my job to be doing the cleaning ups. And then he has his own jobs that are given to him because he is the man here.
That's what you've observed from your relationship with your parents and grandparents.
And then what
Right.
if it's even different from what you observe? So, perhaps, like, okay, my system that I have working in my home is not the system that I have observed growing up. I consider it different from that system, and I feel like I've made a conscious decision to do that. Am I still replicating what I've seen as a child?
Once you discover that you were born with errors,
Yeah.
there's only two things you can do. You can ignore it
Yeah.
and watch how unloving events keeps coming your way.
Oh, wow.
It just keeps coming left, right, and center. Or you can make that change and stop the cycle.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you take a look at human beings, you would have problems with your in-laws.
Yeah.
You have problems with your kids. You have problems with your grandparents.
Right.
You have problems with your employer.
With your grandparents, come on. You have trouble with their grandparents here. The damn devil, you hear me?
You have parents with problems with your teacher. You
Yeah.
have problems with the person at the grocery store.
Yeah, definitely.
But who is the common denominator for all these people?
It's you.
Yourself.
Yeah, yourself. Wow.
If you're the common denominator, the problem is not the people around you.
Yeah.
And just keep in mind that every event that happens to you, there's always a person or people at the end of that event.
Oh.
So it's not the people around you. You have to start looking at yourself.
Right.
The more you look at yourself to realize, why are you attracting this? There's something wrong with yourself. It's not nothing wrong with these people around you.
Yeah.
They're just doing what their soul connection is telling them to do.
Oh, wow.
And you are caught in the middle because there's something wrong with you. You have to get out of that rhythm.
You hear that, guys? These are some strong points. These are some controversial points. And you guys chime in the comment section. Let us know what you think about what John is here saying on our stage today. And if you agree or disagree with him about what love is, where love comes from, how we learn to love, and if we are born with love or not. So disagree, agree, whatever it may be. You've kind of touched on it. But what does love look like in a relationship? You've told us what it does not look like. Like, you know, your man can't be sitting down on the toilet every day and then not cleaning that toilet. He don't love you, according to John, right? Your woman can't be cooking every day and then you never pick up and cook yourself. You don't love she, according to John, right? So you tell us, what does love actually look like in a relationship?
Well, it's almost like saying, if you were to take a piece of paper and write down what in a person you would like that make you feel 100% complete.
Right.
If you start writing all that down, you will start seeing that each point you're saying that this will make me feel loved.
Right.
The respect, the kindness, the pride and dignity.
Right.
If any one of those points does not meet your standard, how can you be in love with the person that doesn't meet your expectation?
So can we learn to love somebody that doesn't have all the points, John? What's going on? We should just be with our perfect match, you're saying?
Well, to find a perfect match,
Yeah. You come to Todd.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
if you discovered the cycle in your life,
Yeah.
if you truly want to engage a relationship with the other person,
Yeah.
they're going to have to want to discover what you've discovered about yourself so
Okay.
they can discover it in themselves. And if you can't come to a decision
Right.
to make those changes because it's affecting you
Yeah.
and ultimately it will affect your children and your grandkids.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Whatever is inside of you, a child could only copy. I'll give you an example. This is my dad. I'm a child. This is my dad. My dad sits on the couch and waits for food. My dad, every time my mom asks him, what do you want for dinner?
Yeah.
I don't know anything. That simple act of I don't know anything, the child is learning how not to make decisions.
Yeah, how to be indecisive, right? Oh,
You-
wow.
You cannot make decisions with parents who portrays themselves in a household to not make decisions.
Okay.
Simple things.
Yeah.
So if a child is acting these roles out all the time, they're reflecting.
It's from the little things that we don't
That's-
think we're teaching them. Like he just said,
That's right.
you're not saying you don't know what you want to eat. That alone is teaching your child to be indecisive. This is really heavy, John, like
That's right.
extreme. And so you're saying what love looks like in a relationship is that you have chosen a person who have all the points that you need to meet your own inner satisfaction.
That's right. And just to add that love cannot produce unloving events.
What is an unloving event?
Well, if you feel something, just say you just started to date
Yeah.
and you're texting someone to realize that that feeling, I wonder why he's not texting me back.
Right.
You see, love cannot produce an unloving effect.
Okay.
Okay? A thought will hit its target 100%. So just say that that I'm in love with you. Okay?
Right.
And you are sitting there and you're texting me, or you're in love with me. Let's go the other way. And you're sitting there, you're texting me, and you get a feeling, why isn't this guy
communicating,
See, that feeling itself is not love. If that feeling is not love, you can't be in love. It's addictions.
I understand. Right? Like you're just addicted to hearing from the person,
exactly.
being with the person,
Exactly.
the things that they do for you. You're addicted to that, but you don't actually love them. Is what
right.
you're saying. Oh, that is harsh, John. Oh
And,
gosh.
and the only reason why you're feeling it is because thoughts hit the target 100%. So basically, when you send out the text, I will receive it. When I receive that text, I'm thinking, oh, she's calling me, right?
Okay, right.
But the moment I think of something, I'm not thinking about the neighbor. I'm not thinking about my aunts and uncles. I'm not thinking about my friends. My thought is about the connection to the page, you.
Yeah.
My thought will hit its target. You are the target.
Yeah.
If you're the target, you will feel something at some level.
All right.
And
yeah,
that
so
feeling
you
comes
feel
to
like,
you.
Because I have clients come to me and they say things like, Taj, I've been messaging her and she's answering me. Because I'll be like, well, did she answer you? He'd be like, yeah. But I find it's a little off. Like I find
The answer's
our
already there.
conversation's a little off. And then sometimes we'll be like, based on what? And then they'd be like, I don't know. But then now what you're saying is that
Hit its target.
it hit its target. So they have right to feel that it's off because the woman probably is being off with them in truth. So your advice to our audience then, John, is when you feel like something really is in truth and you need to dig into that and investigate it because you're basically in fake love, right?
You should not feel unlovingness if you're in love with someone. That tells you so much. It's almost like saying when you start to date, right?
Yeah.
This is where it begins. When you start to date, most guys and girls, they buy each other things. They go to a coffee shop or they go to a restaurant, and then they may end up going on a trip. But the fastest way for people to understand love is for the girl to go to the guy's house. I'm talking about the girl's point of view from here, right? Because these conversations are so elaborate.
Yeah, I know it. Don't worry, we'll have you back, John, because this is really informative, and I don't think we can cover it all in one episode, and our producer's given us the okay, so we'll definitely have him come back, guys. So if you have any questions specific for John that you want to ask him or you want him to come and touch on when he does, you send in those to us, and you know where to find us on all of our social media pages. You can find us on Twitter at Love Connect TV. You can find us on Instagram at The Love Connection Show. You can find us here on YouTube at The Love Connection with Taj B, and definitely on Facebook at The Love Connection Show as well. So if you have questions for John, send them in, and he will come and touch these bases on the next episode, right? That's
Okay.
I mean, and then we also want to know, how do you know if you genuinely love your partner? Because what you're saying, okay, for instance, I'll use an example. You're saying we cannot be in love when we have unloving moments, right? But some of us view that as the trials and tribulations of a relationship. We have this understanding that nothing is perfect and no one is perfect. We are not perfect, so we don't expect our partner to be perfect either, right? So when they do unperfect things, we don't see it as they don't love us. We see it as they're being human. So what do you say about that?
Well, first of all, when you start loving yourself, that's the only time you can understand love. So if you don't discover that love is not in yourself, you could say you're not perfect, and you will always meet someone not perfect.
Right.
Because if you don't have love inside of you, you cannot find someone to love, because the person that you will meet is through your addictions.
Oh,
So
wow.
so that's deep in itself. But if you can take a look at all the people that you've seen in high school,
Yeah.
you can only go in and out of relationships
Okay, okay.
because love is not inside of you.
Right,
Hasta la
right.
vista.
This is true,
right?
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 Yeah.
But when you start putting love in yourself, you start saying, you know what? I want to, there's something wrong with my weight. I want to fix myself. You know what? I don't know. My parents only cook the same 5 foods all the time.
Yeah.
There's billions of recipes on the planet and the same 5 foods. But you know what? I'm going to learn how to cook this because according to what I see on TV, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn it. And if I learn it, I'm loving myself. I want to fix that thing that's broken.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave it there. When I wake up in the morning, you know, I don't want to know that I'm going to make my bed all the time. Because if I go into someone's house and bed's not made,
Right.
what feeling do you get?
Like, what kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
people's is this, you know?
You start feeling a personality. If a person truly loves themselves,
Yeah.
they will know that if they're in a grocery store and their receipt blows away or pays blow away, there are people say, oh, look at it go, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
the person will say, you know what? I'm causing litter.
Right, right.
If you love yourself, you would go after that to not contribute to wrong.
Right,
right?
right, right.
And the more you love yourself, you have an example inside yourself to know what you're looking for.
Okay, wow.
But if you don't put it inside of you,
On point.
it's only addictions inside of you. That's the reason why people argue and bicker and bicker and bicker in
Yeah.
relationships, because they're truly not in love. They just teach themselves to stay together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You hear that, guys? A lot of you out there are not really in love. You're just teaching yourself how to stay together. So what is your advice, John, to people who are currently in a relationship and they're listening to you right now and they're like, you know what? That man is right. You know, I don't really love this girl. You know, it's just my addiction of, you know, a nice body and a woman who could cook and clean and who's going to take care of the kids. She's just meeting that addiction, but I actually don't genuinely love her. But I like her and I enjoy our relationship and she's being good with the kids and I think that this family unit is great. How can we fix this? Can we fix this?
Well, you can live in harmony with someone.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're in love with them.
Ouch.
But if two people really discover that it's not love,
Yeah.
then instead of hurting their kids,
Yeah.
for the kids to see that two people are living in harmony but they're not in love, that it's better for them to separate and be friends so the
Okay.
kids will have the strength to make that decision
If they should find themselves
That's right.
in that. Oh, wow.
as opposed to living in the unlovingness. You
I
don't,
mean, you don't want to hear that. You heard Mr. John. You have to leave the devil you're with in order to show the people around you what a positive example of when you find yourself in a wrong situation, what to do.
because too many people are unhappy.
A lot of people, yeah.
And the unhappiness, if you take a look at hospitals, a hospital is getting larger and larger. It shouldn't look like like a university. It should be looking like a little library.
Thank you.
Right?
I always think that myself too, yeah.
But the more unlovingness that you practice, the worse your health condition gets.
That's true.
Mental disease, all these things happen.
You hear this, guys? This living in fake love or pretense and all of this stuff is actually bad for our health.
It makes you sick.
So you're in a position to choose to do something about it. And you can use this episode as your mantra to do that, guys, because, you know, he's well informed. What are the dangers of never experiencing or having experienced love?
The dangers, well, first of all, you're not meant to be alone.
Okay, so
okay?
we're not.
You're not meant to be alone.
Okay, we agree on that. Something we agree on.
One thing you have to understand is that because you're not meant to be alone, you have to make the conscious decision to want to find love inside you. You have to make that decision.
And you had to do that first, right? Before
Right,
finding
absolutely.
the partner. Okay.
Once you start putting love inside you, you can actually go through your entire life and not meet the right person. But here's the kicker. What's inside of you is love. Every time you meet someone, they could be so beautiful.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like when I was in high school, I used to get notes in my locker. But every time I saw that phone number and I looked at the girl, it doesn't matter how cute she is. I said to myself, well, what am I going to do with her?
Yeah, yeah.
That's someone's child, right?
Exactly.
What is it am I looking for?
Wow, aren't you responsible? A lot of young teenage boys aren't thinking that right now.
The end result is happiness, right? Would I want that to be done to my sister at that age, and then eventually to my daughter?
Yeah.
It didn't make sense, because if you take a look at your parents, you can see the hurt in them, right? In both, right?
Yeah.
You can see the hurt in your grandparents, the neighbors.
Yeah.
So basically, if I'm at this age, I'm next in line
For the hurt.
in the cycle, right?
Oh, wow.
So I had to break the cycle, right? When I broke the cycle, I looked back at everyone to realize they're still hurt.
Right, right.
But I broke the cycle.
That's amazing, John. And kudos that you did, because then you could come here and share this with us, because a lot of people have never heard such a message in their entire lives, right? A lot of people don't know that they're going around without love.
Usually within 5 minutes of speaking to someone, I can tell you if the person loves them or not.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Like if their partner loves them or not?
Just from when they're speaking, because once you start putting love inside yourself, you have a feeling inside that vibrates, and you can feel the other person.
So love is something that you can feel. Do you hear that, guys? You must be able to feel it as a tangible emotion, okay?
That's right.
Is it human to love, John?
Yes, it is.
It is. So it is human to love, guys. So all of those who are going around talking about people don't have love, people are all wicked, people are this, people are that. No, we're not.
That's right.
Because love is a human thing, right?
And for ladies, if you want to have a loving relationship, how does hip hop work in your life?
Oh, wow.
If it degrades you,
Here we go, guys. A lot of you thought that you got off scot-free. He's ready for you now.
if the music is degrading and everything is ho ho ho,
Yeah.
well, how could you ask for a wonderful relationship when you yourself don't love yourself?
Right? Because then you wouldn't sit down listening
That's
to
right.
a man degrade a woman and calling them
That's
hoes,
right.
and you wouldn't be shaking your ass saying I'm a hoe too if you really loved yourself,
That's
right?
right. The only thing that you will get from that is someone to with your addictions, meet your addictions. He will start talking slang, and as I go, yo girl, right?
But that's your addiction. That's what you're looking for. A guy
That's
to
right.
treat you like a man in a hip hop video treats those video hoes. Is that what you really want, ladies? Like, really ask yourselves that. Is that truly what you want in your life?
And some people say that, oh, well, not all hip hop. It has a
message.
good message. It may have a message, but look at the video. Look at the color tone of the video. Look at what they're wearing. Look at the background. Look at the way they're speaking. What does it feel to you?
Right?
If it doesn't feel loving, then it's not love.
Right. You cannot base your life on a hip hop video, guys. Wow.
Yeah. How could someone love you when you don't love yourself, don't respect yourself? It's impossible.
And that is, if you take nothing else away from this episode, that is the key here, guys. It is impossible to love others when you do not love yourself. Do you see any trends in love? Like, do you see any trends in modern love? Like, what you got to say? What's your commentary on that?
The problem is that I'll give you an example of how the streets look like today when people degrade themselves. If you find that there's a guy that's walking down the street and his pants are lowered, right? You could say that there's no pride, respect, and dignity in that person.
Right.
But that person doesn't know that.
Right.
Right?
No.
He doesn't
they
know.
just see it as like a style or
Yeah. He's
something
just
they're
born.
doing. Yeah.
They're just born. But a well-rounded, sophisticated lady will not marry that guy.
Absolutely not.
But someone that meets his addictions will. So what happens if a damaged person marries a damaged person? What's the product?
Damaged children.
So when the child is born, the child does not know they're damaged.
No, they just
To
think it's
everyone,
normal.
to everyone else is wrong and they're right. But along the way, as that child develops and grows, because the parents don't have inside of them the pride, respect, and dignity to give the child love, then it's not in the child. So now the child is born, and after a while, about around the age of 9, 10, they start pulling away from the parents, have suppressed emotions, and now they start living their life. But their life is only lived with negative addictions, and they gravitate towards more wrong, but they don't know that.
Oh, wow.
So along the way, they'll lose motivation and self-esteem, but someone's going to marry that person.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is that you see life going like this. It starts from good to worse to worse to worse. That's the trend. But you have to be the first to discover it in your bloodline.
Oh, wow.
If you're the first to discover it, you're already starting to process. That means however wrong you are in life,
Yeah.
that is the worst it can ever get if you want to progress. That's the worst. So whatever pain you have in life, it's the worst it can get if you want to progress.
Oh, wow.
If you don't want to progress, it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
More and more pain, more and more events coming to you, and you will always be the center of all that pain.
You hear that, guys? That's amazing. So each of you watching today's episode, you should make an effort to be that person in your life, in your family life, in your relationship. Be the person who decides that it's time to make a change. We really enjoyed having you here, John. Like, this is very informative. And like I said, you will be back. But before we let you go, I thought that you can give some insight by answering one of our Dear Taj questions. So
Sure.
we've taken love and relationship questions from our audience.
Sure.
And I typically answer one every week. But I thought because you're here and you have a different spin on things, you can answer that instead. So
Sure.
here we go. Dear Taj and John, so I had them send one specific since you're coming. So dear Taj and John, I am very much in love with my woman. I love everything about her, and she's a very good woman to me. We've been together for 5 years, and we live together. I have no complaints except that we are currently experiencing infertility issues. We've gone to doctors and we've gone to specialists, and she does have some problems that we are trying to work on. But I've noticed ever since finding out this information, she is changing. She's a lot more sad, and I don't know what to do. I do want children, but I also do want to be with her as well. And I do want to help her out of this depression and sadness that she is in. What do you suggest that I do? How do we move on past this? How do I make her feel better?
This point is really like 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
It's a lengthy, but it is. I can put it in a nutshell, because of time we have, is that you can go to a doctor, you can go to a scientist. You'll always have consistent information from them.
Right.
But infertility is based on the amount of love you have inside of you.
Really? Is that an actual medical issue?
Well,
What are you telling me here, John?
if you take a look at your parents,
Right.
you will start the first 7 years of your life, you will notice a lot of the wrong that your parents have done.
Okay.
And because you've never learned to truly love yourself, you not only took your parents' addictions, but you started making your own addictions. And because of the seriousness of these addictions, the child that needs to be born cannot come out. It cannot go through the process, the energy process. So
Really? Wow.
you have
I
to
hope you
learn
guys
to
are
love.
listening very carefully here, because this is a gold information.
It is deep, and I can actually elaborate so much that you can say that I get it. Okay?
Yeah. Maybe
Love
when you come
is-
back, we'll specifically touch on fertility and conceiving and the role that love plays in that then, right?
Once you start triggering love in yourself, it's amazing how disease and certain issues start to erase.
Okay. So Daniel, who sent in this Dear Taj question, so you need to start focusing on finding love within yourself first, right? That would be the advice.
They both do. So
You both do. So you and her. And then I guess take it from there, right?
yeah. See, I can't put love into you.
Right.
It's like leading the horse to the water, and
Yeah,
you can't make the horse
force
win.
them to drink.
I can shower you with gifts and jewelry, but inside you,
Yeah.
there's something wrong.
Okay.
That magic that you have to create, you have to find it, and usually 100%, it's coming from your parents. The first 7 years of your life,
Yeah.
what they've done, if you start investigating moment by moment, looking at pictures, asking a lot of questions, how they treated you,
Yeah.
shouting, disrespect,
Right.
not acknowledging, and rudeness, and all the effects of the relationships with mom and dad or grandparents, that took a toll. And because that took a toll, emotions are so suppressed. It's like the emotions are in a jar, and you've got a cork on it.
Right.
If you don't open that jar to release those emotions, love can't come inside you.
Oh, wow.
It's always closed. And you're just trying to manipulate and recycle, regurgitate the words that you developed from a young child. You're regurgitating your life, what your parents lived.
Hope that helped, Daniel. And if it didn't, you write back again and John will continue to answer your question. And maybe if he has time, he might sending a little write-up for you. I'll forward that to you and we'll take it from there. But definitely you make sure to tune into the next episode featuring Mr. John, because as you know, he has a lot to share with us. He has been very informative. Thank you so much, John, for coming and glowing up the Love Connection stage. Before I let you go, you got anything to promote? How can we give you our money?
Well, over the years, between clients, I found a way to do other things to occupy my time.
Ooh.
So I joined the real estate.
Oh, there you go.
And my website is megacityrealtor.com.
Okay, so you guys go check it out. And that's it. Anything
That's it.
else?
No, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to explain it to you.
Perfect, guys. So thanks again. You know, I'm so excited when you guys tune in. We can't do this without an audience, so we love each and every one of you, and we genuinely do. I don't know, regardless of what John says. It's real love that we have for you guys. And you know the deal, guys. If you like my look and you think this is cute, then you need to go check out Masego Boutique. That's Masego Boutique. And you know, it would not be a Love Connection episode if PRF Events did not glow us up. So go look on their website at prfevents.com. Thanks again, and you guys have an awesome weekend. Toodles!